Welcome, everyone. I'm Rebecca Saltman, and I'm here with my dear friend, Jade Rader, and this is the EMPATH INSIGHts Summit. We noticed some time ago that there was a gap when it came to learning about being a sensitive and empathic person in this world. So we decided to do something about that. We started talking with other amazing empathic people and learned so much that we felt we needed to share it with the world. We love what we do so much, and we get to talk to the most amazing people in the process. We learn infinite amounts every single time. Today, Marisa Duran is one of our delightful co-authors in our You Empath You anthology, and it's launching on April 28th, 2022. Marisa shared an amazing story with us in our book, and she might even talk about it a little bit today. Let me share a brief introduction about our lovely Marisa Duran today. Marisa is a writer and a Capricornian empath who began her spiritual journey over 38 years ago. She has spent the last 3 decades discovering and developing her gifts, which has allowed her to assist others in overcoming their obstacles and exploring their own unique abilities in a safe space. A Capricorn at heart, Marisa draws on her natural patience to guide and profoundly change the way others view themselves, their path, and the way they can relate to others in their lives. Many have said upon hearing her voice, they are instantly put at ease. I know that's true for me. Now retired, Marisa enjoys a 31-year career at AT&T and spends her time reading and geocaching. Welcome, Marisa. No worries. There you go. So happy to have you here, Marisa.
Hi. I'm having technical difficulties.
So welcome to have you here.
How are you?
I'm so happy to have you here. Jade, do you want to get us started?
Absolutely. Marisa, what happened when you were young that started your spiritual journey? Can you share that with us?
Sure. I was 19 and I lost my mother. She was the only parent that I had. And I went on a search to find out why a God would take away their mother from their 3 young, just starting teenagers, starting their life. And I wanted to know why. And so actually I went and started with some of the books she had in the shelf, which was kind of interesting because they range from astrology and mediumship, even death and dying. And that's where my journey began, and trying to find out some sort of explanation.
So how did this experience mold your spiritual beliefs, Marisa?
I began to get little answers from each book, from each, and thinking about just in the way of how I was brought up and how even society thinks. And as I continued with a reference from one book and it would go on to another book, and there was no internet. There was, barely any mention in encyclopedias. So I was on my own and just referring from one book to another. And I started seeing this one line of that they were books from different decades. They were different cultural, different mindsets. And yet there was this one line of understanding and come on your to reach your path, and to start just organically thinking and actually reprogramming, in a sense, on how you looked at life, how even as I continue to grow, because I still was only 19, and now all of a sudden I was mother, provider, and even I put my my grieving on hold. So, but I found this one string of just that there was something more, and on my way to find an answer.
Wow. So you've been on a spiritual path, Marisa, quite a long time, almost 4 decades, right? How does one keep an open mind to stay on the spiritual path?
You'll hear me say and talk about a lot, and it's about patience. It's about patience with other people, with even the mindsets and how society is just thinking of a certain way. But ultimately, the patience you have to learn is with yourself. And so when something does not jive with your way of thinking or your way of that you were raised culturally, society, you have to take that time. You have to take that time to filter through and sort out, and just make these adjustments. Well, I think the adjustments actually happen organically when you start considering other thoughts, processes, and other information.
That really is important, because I guess, my next question is, how does someone deal with resistance from friends and family? Because as you were just describing, like, stuff comes up. So how do you suggest that people deal with resistance from friends and family?
Unfortunately, when you're on a path that is so totally different from the majority of your friends, family, people you work with, you do have to have a certain discretion, unfortunately, especially at the beginning, because you're just opening up this whole new world to yourself. You're learning so much. And yes, I was excited and I wanted to share, but I found even expressing and sharing what I was learning with my sisters, they came away with very different thoughts. They, at one point, I said, "Well, you don't believe in God," and I'm like, "No, where did you get that from?" Just because I was trying to share what I was learning and just start a internal conversation for them, and so unfortunately, it really did have to limit what I did share and with who, and just over the years, it was about planting seeds, and it was about just tend to just give them a little, oh, this is what I learned today, or did you ever consider this? And then so you just drop that little seed, and what happens when we drop those seeds? Eventually, they do start sprouting and growing. So, unfortunately, it was, especially at the beginning years, is limiting in a sense, and then trying to find like-minded people, other people that even was exploring their journey on their own.
Well, that's fantastic, Marisa. Um, I'm gonna fly one off the wall here. Have you noticed a little bit of difference between when you started on your path, being able to share what you're up to, and now? Are you seeing people be more receptive to a spiritual path and have a broader open mind?
Yes, because the majority of the people I did begin sharing, some are gone, but some are still in my life. And yeah, we're coming up in 2 years. It'll be 40 years I've been on this journey. And so I have very long friendships that actually have been 40 years or more. And it was all those dropping of the little seeds where, yeah, some of them have changed their thought. They have opened their worlds to all different parts, and it amazes me sometimes when they tell me, "Hey, I started reading this book," or "Hey, remember when you told me this?" And I'm finding as I get older, as they're opening their minds, that they're beginning to explore more and much more receptive on even just the subject.
That is fabulous because, yeah, it's as the consciousness rises, and like that's literally what this book is about, right? We're talking about being an empath. Yet, what can someone do if they're spiritually blocked, Marissa?
Again, I want to go back to patience. I remember when I started my path, I wanted all the answers now. I wanted something I could hold on to and say, yes, this is the reason why. Even in terms of working towards awakening certain gifts, I remember trying so hard and trying to see visions, trying to make it come into existence. And so but there were times where I would have so much information, I was reading so much, and you don't have time to process it. And so it's what I call, it's like, some of this information I'm reading, and I was reading a lot, sometimes 2 to 3 books, and I'm like, you get burnt out, as well as, I need to let this information marinate a little bit. And so that's where I started becoming into really more patient with myself, which is not a very easy thing.
So, I mean, that sort of leads it perfectly into, I've heard you talk about meditation before. And so can you tell, like, I'm guessing that you have a way to meditate. And I'm wondering if you can tell our listeners a little bit about what you do if people find it hard to, if you find it hard to meditate, or if you can teach us a little bit about what you can do if you're challenged by meditation.
I think meditating isn't really a activity that a lot of people say, oh yeah, it was instant. I was able to go into it. It took a while. And again, I'm bringing back the patience. It took a while because I decided this is what I was going to do, something for myself. I chose one day a week, and I was going to say it was just an hour. And so even when I talk to other people, okay, if an hour is too long because you have family, you have obligations, then 15 minutes. And so 15 minutes allows you to have that time for yourself, just 15 minutes. And from there, I continued expanding the time. I continue making sure that I took that time for myself. And then all of a sudden, something started shifting. And if I had a very strenuous or long day at work, and I realized, because it was Wednesday that I would choose that day, that was my meditation day, I was excited to get home. And so some people, and this is one of the way my mind is, and a lot of women, I think a lot of women as well, they constantly, they sit down, but it's not like they're just resting. No, they're going through the day's list and the grocery list, the kids, what they need to do before bed, and we're going through, and it's constant chatter. And so when you have this time for yourself, and that's where you're just like, you have to be patient. And so because it takes a while to really turn off that chatter, and it's a matter of just taking that time, and eventually, yeah, it came to the point I would just sit in my chair, and it was almost instant. And all of a sudden, after a couple months of, and you have to be patient. Yes, the chatter, if you have that type of mind and you're going through it, it's not going to happen instantly. So again, and then from there, you can also focus, make your meditations more focused, more time. My sister moved in with me, and that caused me to meditate every day. So just to keep peace, and it's about patience. It really is about patience and having that time for yourself.
Marissa, that is such wonderful insight. And what's your favorite spiritual saying?
My favorite. which I say all the time, and even people who have heard it before, and they're like, all right, already. Some things are true, whether or not you believe in it or not.
I wonder, like, is there any other piece of that? I mean, that is because
No.
that's really profound.
Well, that's really the P. And see, with I'm the type of, is like I said, with the planting of seeds, and I'll just drop that and let them think about it. Let them find the pieces that it fits in their lives. So, and it's true. There are some things that are true, whether you believe in it or not. And that's where what people, I know you've come across other people, well, I don't believe in that. I'm like, so that's why there is no more explanation. I'm not here to convince you. I'm like I said, I'm a Johnny Appleseed. I just leave the seed. So
I love that. So Marisa, I would love for people to be able to be in touch with you if that's possible. Would you be able to let us know how our listeners could be in touch?
yes, I can be reached at Marisa, Marisa, Duran, Duran 101 at gmail.com.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Marisa. Now, you shared insight in so many areas, and the weaving theme was patience. It was so beautiful that, the willingness to allow for spaciousness, time, patience, and you really mentioned about ourselves, and that is such a great reminder. Thank you so, so much for being with us here today and sharing your story and the book, You Empath You, and your insights today in the summit, Marisa.
Well, I enjoyed myself, and it wasn't so bad.
Well, listeners, thank you so much for being here. We are grateful. And remember to join us for the next You Empath Use Insight for Empaths. Wow, there you go, Jade. So in the summit, the Empath Insight Summit, we want to make sure you get to hear all the insights from all the authors from our book, You Empath You. So the letter U, like university, empath, EMPATHYOU, and the website is book.com. So the letter U, empath, YOU, book.com is where you go on April 28th, 2022, and you grab your 99-cent Kindle copy. Help us become Amazon best-selling authors. And here's what else you do. After you've bought your book, you take your receipt number back to our website, youempathyobook.com, and you put it in the little spot that asks you to, and you get all the bonuses. You get dozens and dozens of wonderful things from our partners and authors as a thank you for you helping us become Amazon #1 bestsellers. I've got a tip. Grab your communication device. I don't care if it's an Android or an ISO, and make yourself a calendar appointment. Set at least 1, 2, 3 alarms in case you're a busy person. Start in the morning. And remind yourself to go put the website in there, youempathyobook.com. Click on that and get all of the wonderful stories that are so inspiring from each and every author in the anthology. There's tons of tips in the book. There's tools in between, and there is something there for each and every person. So we're really grateful for you joining us. Remember, April 28th, 2022, and the youempathyobook.com website. See you then. So much aloha. Thank you, everyone.